Hello ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Seeley, and today I'm going to be introducing your next project, which is creating a graphic novel. For this challenge, you are going to be telling a story through illustrations or visuals. So it's going to be a series of events that you're showing in the graphic novel style. The first thing that you're going to be doing is learning what the word graphic novel is. A lot of people probably are familiar with the word comic, but graphic novel is the term that we're going to be using. Graphic is the combination of words, symbols, and images to create a visual representation of ideas or messages. So whether it is a poster or it is a logo, these are all examples of different ideas or messages getting across. A novel, as you most likely know, is a spoken or written account of events. It's a narrative of a story. So basically, you're trying to tell a story through visual means. Now, the reason we're using the word graphic novel and not comic is because a lot of graphic novels originally were only humorous or funny, so hence the word comic. But as most of you hopefully know, maybe you don't, graphic novels are not just funny anymore. Might be obvious, but here's how you read a graphic novel. You're going to be reading it from left to right and top to bottom. So for this example, top left, top right, bottom left, bottom right. Now it seems kind of obvious, but they can get a much more unique and significant depending on the arrangement of the panels and the gutters. Which brings us to the next vocabulary term. Panels are the squares or the frame that contains the images. So right now there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different gutters. 6 different panels, and those panels all contain the information that is happening. They all tell the story. Now, in between the panels are the gutters. The gutters are the space between those squares. So you can really see a crisp separation between each moment of time. Another important thing you need to know about this graphic novel challenge is that you should have various changing camera angles. You're going to have wide shots, close-ups, rotations, and high and low angles. Graphic novels are much more interesting when the perspective changes. If the perspective doesn't change, the story becomes a lot more boring. For example, this is the widest shot in this narrative, in this page. You can see 3 individuals with most of their entire bodies visible. And then it shows the same kind of angle but zooms in significantly more closely to focus on the facial features as well as their expressions. And then it zooms in on this individual here but rotates to show a different angle. And then you can see that they widen out again. This narrative could be a lot more boring if the camera angles were all the same or static. Another example of a wide shot establishing the character, a close-up giving attention to the details, including actions, objects, and emotions. Cropping is also an important vocabulary term for this unit. Cropping is the removal of the outer areas of an image. In other words, it's when you zoom in on your image and certain parts of the object are going to be extending off the page. So in this panel, you can see that the below the belt or below the waist and lower in the legs have been cropped or eliminated, focusing on probably the facial features or just not needing the importance of showing the legs. So you're going to be doing 3 different assignments now that you've learned about these different vocabulary terms. The first one is a layout assignment. The panels can be arranged panels can be arranged in a variety of ways, and various panels or layouts make the story more interesting and conveys different meaning, similar to various different camera angles. So if you look at this one here, this makes the narrative much more interesting because of the arrangement of the panels. So what you're going to be doing for this first of 3 assignments is a panel layout assignment. You're going to use your sketchbook. You can create 3 to 4 small creative layouts. Think about the significance of each panel, the arrangement, size, and the shape. You're not, however, going to be drawing within the panels. You're simply going to create the sections in a creative way. Once you've created 3 to 4 small layouts, you're going to be doing one large final one. So be as creative as possible by referencing these examples here, this example here, and these examples here. Once you're done with your panel layout assignment, you're going to be creating a second assignment, which is called the Mundane Action Assignment. Using various perspectives, make a very boring event look interesting. All of your panels and gutters must look like this one on the page here. So you get only 4 panels, you have the gutters in between. What is not interesting is the layout. What you're going to be trying to do is make a really boring narrative or story much more interesting. But you only have 4 panels to do it. How are you going to do this? You're going to be using various changing camera angles. So the wide shots, the close-up, the rotations, and the high-low angles that we talked about to make a very boring situation look much more interesting. So you have all these different close-ups to extreme close-ups to wide shots to extremely wide shots, or the rotations, meaning you're rotating around a specific object. So again, a wide shot can establish characters in the setting, and the close-up gives attention to the details and the action. And continue to use cropping as well to make to zoom in on an image and focus on the most important part. So, for example, if you look at this this graphic novel or comic of Dilbert, the camera angle hardly changes or arguably doesn't change at all. And it's much more boring. The only thing that is driving the content of the story is the written words that they're saying. There's no action that's happening that is significantly changed over the course of these panels. So do not do this. This is what we're not doing. Okay? So do not do this. So for your mundane action assignment, you're going to be creating a comic of a very boring event. You're going to redraw the image with various angles in each panel to show character or a setting, or character in a setting, or to highlight the details. You must include a wide shot, a close-up, and a rotation. So think back what I mean by that. None of these change. Here you have a wide shot and close-ups. Here you have a range of various different wide shots and close-ups, but make sure that they are significantly different from each other. So you're going to have only 4 panels to show a story. So look at this. You have an extreme close-up, a wide shot, medium shot of a different angle, medium shot of a different angle, 2 close-ups, maybe more of a, well, these are extreme extreme close-ups. These are medium close-up, and then some other various angles. So make sure that you are creating a really, making a very mundane thing look much more interesting. Your third and final activity is to show perspective through various ways. So how can you tell who is close and who is far away? Things that are lower on the page and that you can see all of are usually in front of everything else. So Spider-Man here is the lowest on the page. You can see his feet are lowest on the page. And he is in front of everybody else because I can see all of him, but I can't see all of these other characters. Also, as things get higher on the page, they should not only get further back, but also smaller. So you can see that as we go higher on the page, these people get smaller and smaller based off of their appropriate size and scale. Now, some of these characters are significantly larger because that's just what they are. But if, as you can see things that are closer are lower on the page and big. Things that are further back on the page are higher up and smaller. So you're going to be using size change and overlap in this illusion of depth on a flat surface perspective assignment. So again, overlap is when you can see fully all something that is in front, and when you can see less visible things that are behind. So Yoda here, although is smaller, is in front of everything else because you can see all of him and you can't see all of these Jedi Knights behind him. Size change in height is also important. So again, this clone trooper is lower on the page and larger, which means he's closer to us. These two are further away because they are smaller and higher up. So for this activity, you're going to be drawing a horizon line that separates the ground from the sky, and you're going to draw 2 characters or 2 objects that show overlap. So one thing in front of the other, like this. Next, you're going to draw 3 characters or objects that show size change, which means something on the page is going to be lower and larger than two other things which will be higher and smaller. Once you have completed all of the different activities, which include first the creative layout panel activity, second the mundane action assignment, and the third the perspective, you're going to then create a sketch of your final graphic novel using all the things that you've learned so far. So using a character and a setting, draw an action or event. Your character must have an accurate figure proportions. So in other words, when you're drawing your figure, they should be as realistic as possible. You're going to use a ruler to create a creative layout using panels and gutters. You use various perspectives to tell an interesting story, including wide shots, close-ups, and rotations. You must include overlap and size change, and you cannot use text to describe dialogue, thought, or a narrative. So a lot of people are really bummed out by that. But think about how you can show someone shouting, someone talking, or some other things taking place besides writing words down. I want the emphasis of this activity to be on the illustrations of telling the story, not the words themselves. So, for this activity, please have fun. Please create a creative layout using panels and gutters. Please use proportionally accurate figures. Use overlap and size change to create the illusion of depth on a flat surface. Make sure that you're having various camera angles changing, and include no text. Here's an example of a figure with accurate proportions that you can use as a reference. If your character is not going to be proportionally accurate, because they're going to be a little bit more stylized or cartoony, that is fine. But if you want your person to be accurate, here are some different steps in making an accurate human figure. Have fun and create some cool stuff, guys.